Now?
Oh, fantastic.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. How are you?
Yes, fine. Thank you very much. Very fine. I'm
Excellent.
sorry we catched up in Watches and Wonders. We didn't have so much time, but I saw all your videos. I think you had a lot of fun over there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. The fact that I managed to do it with a cast on my leg, I thought was quite impressive. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Davide, the first thing I should ask you is, it seems as if the world has gone back to vintage, right?
I hope so. I hope so. That's
Well,
what
I would say, it's interesting. I mean, maybe we can talk about this first as well. Like, the last couple of years have been very interesting. There has been a very speculative moment in watches. A lot of times that was related to what we call hype watches, which is the category of contemporary watches that, I guess, the best way of describing it is, if you are a new person coming into watches and you are and you're not sure what to buy, probably those are the watches that you will first buy because they're the most obvious ones, right? But then,
No, absolutely. Absolutely. World of watches is becoming the more and more interesting. And, I'm actually I have always been specialized in vintage. And I think the turmoil of the recent years with the speculation on modern watches gave all friends and customers and collectors the idea that vintage is a much more solid niche, also in terms of investment.
yeah, well, I mean, I think that that's what has been really demonstrated to us in a huge way, right? So I think if you look at the occurrences of last year, I think what started with the crypto crash, then of course there's looming inflation everywhere. There's some instability related to what's happening in the world as well. We see that the prices of hype watches diminished quite significantly. A few great independent watches came up in value. Right. I mean, I think our friend François-Paul Journe was one of the clear.
Absolutely.
And then the world has started to refocus on vintage. And I think that that's very interesting as well. Davide, you've always explained to me that the cool thing about vintage watches is they're watches that represent the pre-industrial era of watches.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And these watches are so rare. I mean, I know, for example, the world time that you're offering, the 2523, it's speculated that only about 50 pieces were ever made, and there's
more than 30 are known to the market. No more than 30 are known to the market. It's still an incredible watch.
Yes. So it's really a time for people to realize, rather than buying a watch that many people can have that are made in the thousands, if not the millions, maybe it's much better to invest in a watch where every watch is in some ways unique because it was made in such oftentimes a unique configuration and in such a rare configuration in a pre-industrial way. Would you agree, sir?
Oh, well, I agree absolutely. Although my first rule remain one, watch market and watch collecting in every kind, in every field, in the modern, in the vintage, is not a short-term speculating. So people that approach the watch world as not the motive that they can make a short-term, a 3 month speculation where they can get a profit. Watches are something nice to collect, and they can give a lot of satisfaction, either in terms of investment and either in terms of possess and wearability. But you don't have to think, and nobody has to think that this is a market where you can get into with some money and then in 6 months you make 30%. Then it's the wrong area. They have to go somewhere else. They have to go in the stock exchange. Watches are not stocks. They have to be bought for passion. Either you like to buy modern Yacht-Master in the shop and you make the queue of 2 years and wait for it. It has something that you really want it. Or you want to buy it on the gray market because you want to have it today. You pay the market price and that's it, but you don't have to think that in 3 months you're going to have a profit. And the same is for the vintage. I sell vintage since over 36 years, and actually I have collectors that had a lot of satisfaction. They made incredible investment, but it took 10, 20 years to realize that, it's not something that you make in a very short time. Watches have to be bought for passion, The watches are a testimony of the 20th century, craftsmanship of the Swiss industry, all over the world. And they have to be bought if you like them, for the design, for the shape, for the makers and everything, not for speculation. This this is my first rule. Either I rule an auction house and I like people to come and invest money, because this is what we do also. We are advisor for watch investment, but not for short term or for medium term. Watches have to be enjoyed. And then with the time, they always pay you back.
You know, it's funny, for many years, my friends thought I was an idiot because they all say, what stocks have you invested in? I'd say nothing. They'd say, what crypto have you invested in? I say nothing. What funds have you invested in? I have nothing. So it's like, what do you do with your money? It's like, well, what little money I have, I just buy watches. And in the end, by accident, it turned out to be an amazing investment, but it was not because of the investment dimension. It's because it was something that I loved, and watches endure forever, which is something completely different for any other object in the world. You know?
100%, I agree with you.
Andrea, let me ask you, as a young person, like, how do you communicate the value of vintage and the culture and the knowledge of vintage to the next generation?
Well, it's also a bit of a long journey. It takes a lot of transmitting and sharing knowledge, sharing understanding, sharing the history, in order for the young generation to understand what is the value of such a vintage piece, what is the rarity. It takes time, but you get there. Just patience is required.
Well, what I love about vintage is it rewards education. The more you educate yourself, the more you enjoy it, and the better you can make in terms of your choice as well. And I think one of the most educated people in the world, one of, I think, your best friends, Davide, and a guy that I love is the wonderful Auro Montanari, otherwise known as John Goldberger, his nom de plume, right? When he writes his...
Absolutely. He's all over. He's here with us, even if he's not, you know, but he's all over, and he's always in my mind. You know, one of the couple of watches we present in the next auction, they come from his collection. Yes. I had the pleasure to advise him for 35 years. I'm his friend 35 years, and we actually share a lot of passion for watches. Auro is for sure one of the 3 or 4 most passionate people that I know in the watch industry, in the watch business. He never bought for speculation in his life. He buys only what he likes. And he was also one of my mentors. We helped each other a lot in growing in the business. Either I was doing this as a business, and he was doing only as a passion. And he has one of the most important collections in the world.
Well, I would say let's start there then. Let's talk about this incredible watch which you're offering, which also is representative of this, you know, very wonderful specialization on Middle Eastern watches, especially related to the Sultanate of Oman. It is a 3700, but what a 3700 it is. It is created in 1978, delivered in 1980, white gold, and commissioned by the Sultan of Oman through Asprey's with an incredible white Khanjar. Tell me about this watch, Davide.
It's a fantastic watch, and Auro had the luck to buy the watch over 25 years ago, so still in very reasonable kind of money. You know, at that time, 3700 Nautilus, they weren't absolutely under the eye of a high-level collector. He was already ahead of the time, as usually. And the watch is, we had the luck to make the expertise with Eric Tortella from his database and research everything about the watch. The watch is a part of a bunch of 4 watches that were sold all together to the Sultan of Brunei, personalized, Sultan of Oman, personalized for Sultan of Oman. And this is basically the only one who has the Khanjar and without the crown on top, which actually is also a particular rarity about the watch. And also is the very first produced of this bunch. It's dated 1978, the production, although they were delivered all in 1980. And the watch is very particular because it has still the large bracelet with the large clasp, which is the first series of this piece. You know, we searched and we looked into the watch. The watch is in spectacular condition. It has been worn but never restored, so it's all in its juice. It's a very particular piece, and I really hope that the next caretaker is going to be a big collector that enjoys for the next year to come.
You know, on the subject of 3700, you know, and maybe Andrea, I can ask you this as well. I mean, we've all been through the period where everyone went crazy for the 5711, and now people are going crazy for the 5811. What to you is the charm of a watch like the 3700, which is the original Nautilus, in comparison? And why would you suggest people focus on that?
Well, it has more of a vintage taste already when you take it in hand. The watch is more thinner, more delicate than the modern pieces.
The originality of the design is incredible. You know, against the new Nautilus, I think the vintage one are spectacular and much more wearable, actually.
I'm fortunate enough to own a 3700 1A, and on the wrist, it's a completely different watch. It's so delicate, refined, elegant. You're absolutely right. Okay, since we're talking about the Sultan of Oman, since we're talking about the Khanjar, we have to talk about two more incredible Rolex watches. So let's start with a 1974 6265 with the Sultan Qaboos wonderful Khanjar on it. Tell us about that watch, sir.
Oh, well, that's a spectacular Daytona. And, you know, we actually searched the watch as the letter of authentication of Asprey. We made the 3 letters, very nice with all the pictures. Those watches also were popular at that time for the Sultan of Oman. They made quite a few with different style of Khanjar. There was the Khanjar at 12 o'clock in red, then there was the Khanjar in green, there was the Khanjar in gold, and with different kind of dial, the champagne. Well, I had the luck to add some of them in the last 35 years. And I think the Daytona with the Khanjar are spectacular because it's the essence of the VIP treatment that Rolex was giving to certain customer in the age when they accepted to renounce to put the Rolex logo on the dial and put instead the emblem of the Sultan. This was something incredible that today is impossible to replicate. No kind of firm, not even Jeff Bezos or anybody, you know, no VIP could ask to Rolex to renounce to write the emblem of the seal of Rolex on the dial and put their own, you know, factory seal. So I think those Rolex personalized for the Oman, like also certain others for the Middle East, you know, for the UAE, like example with the eagle on top, are really watches that testimony the difference in the industry of Rolex in the period when they were really taking particular care of very special VIP customers.
Yeah,
I think the Daytona we have with the red Khanjar is fantastic. It's one of very few produced. There's one also in the legendary book of Pucci Papaleo, which is a very few digits from ours delivered, because all those watches they are made approximately in the same period. And I think our with the letter of Asprey that confirmed the production and all the pictures is a very particular and important example.
It's an extraordinary watch. And, you know, Davide, tell me a little bit, when you're a collector is looking to purchase a watch such as this, that has this kind of history, how important is a letter of authenticity from Asprey's, for example?
Today, the more we go deep into this market and the more prices raise, the letter of the authenticity, the certification, the expertise of proclaimed expert, you know, actually the more and more they become more important. Because at the same time, this is a very big market of counterfeit. And so everybody and all the buyers have to pay a lot of attention of buying from reputed dealers, reputed trusted auction houses, certified dealers, and people that give the most kind of guarantee to everything. That's why I choose this time in my auction to approach other experts of the watch community, like Eric Torchella, like Roberto Randazzo Yatuca, and Joel Goldberger also helped us to examine all the watches, because although I'm in the market 35 years and I feel like I have a good experience in certifying watches myself and making the expertise, but I don't want that my auction house is all on my shoulder, and I don't want the watch community think that I'm the only one who looks through the watches. You know, people that invest in us, people that buys at Monaco Legend has to have the certainty that they have to be certain that they're buying something that has been completely certified by all the trusted people in the world. We don't want discussion. That's why we accept also critical in case from any kind of, we discuss with blogger, we discuss, we are absolutely open, and we are not here, we don't want to sell at any cost every watch. For us, we try to select the best watches. You know, I've been doing this for 35 years and advising many collectors around the world. But we are absolutely open to critics. When we showed watches either to Goldberger and also to Eric Tortella and Roberto Randazzo, later on, the catalog was not already done. We decided to withdraw some pieces that we, in discussion, we were not completely agreed about the 100% homogeneity of the piece, you know? So this is the way we want to handle, and this is the way we are trying to grow. We are very small in the market, but we are growing because we give a certain level of service to the customer, which is the attention of what they buy. You know, this is the thing. We don't want to go to a mass market of auction. We try to remain small, but giving a high level of quality to our service.
Well, Davide, I think that you are one of the few guys that I know that has a truly unanimously spotless and a wonderful reputation, really. And honestly, that makes all the difference in the world, you know?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Wade.
With pleasure, sir. Okay, now you had mentioned the green Khanjar, and I have to talk to you about this incredible date, this reference 18038, with this wood dial, which is one of my favorite. You know, it's so unusual. It's so stunning. Tell me about this watch.
It's also one of my favorite. Well, actually, the watch came up at Philips in the day-date auction, and it was bought from a friend of mine who kept the watch those years. And he offered us the watch, and I was very, very happy and proud to have it back, because I think that's another incredible demonstration of Rolex, you know, skills of the late 70s. You know, the dial is in wood, but the green Khanjar is an incredible light in the dial, and the fact that the watch was sold with the Jubilee bracelet, which is much, for me, much more nice and much nicer and much more appreciated than the President bracelet in that period. Also much rarer because not so many were available in the stores. I think the watch has an incredible appeal. You know, it's a very nice one. We sell it with the book of Pucci, which actually is one of another capolavori that he made. You know, really a fantastic book that he made of that selection of day dates. And the watch is coming from the owner that bought it at Philips. It was, I think, 5 or 6 years ago, the auction. You know, I'm definitely very proud to have that also. We have an incredible, and it is by case, we didn't particularly build it up. We have an incredible selection of Middle East provenance and royal provenance watches in this sale, you know, especially from Rolex. But it is because that market today is on fire. You know, the Middle East is coming very, very strong also in buying. You know, they were a little bit skeptical up to 10 years ago, especially, you know, you were going to Dubai, you were going to Abu Dhabi, you were seeing only modern watches, only new watches. Nobody was buying even a second hand. And actually today I've been to Dubai, you know, 15 days ago. I've been to find a great friend of mine over there, which I say hello, Claude Sfer, and I'm happy I went there to say hello to him. You know, it's very good. And actually, now you see many windows in the mall of specialized vintage and collectible pieces. And I think a big you know, result is due also to our friend Tariq Malik, who over 10 years ago, he opened Momentum Dubai. He's a great guy, and he's very passionate in this selection of watches made for, especially for the Middle East. And I think he gave birth to a very big market that is developing very, very soon. So for this auction, I think we will have also the attention of the Middle East market, and we have several nice pieces to offer.
Well, that's amazing. And it's also wonderful to highlight the creativity of this market by the royal families throughout this period of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, when they were commissioning these incredible watches.
Absolutely, absolutely. And another time, it's incredible that Rolex were allowing to keep those customers, to keep those people inside the Rolex circle and the Rolex company. You know, they were allowing to make so many special watches with so different also style of emblem, because, you know, like the watches for Oman, not only the fact that the swords are made in several different colors, which there are many studies about it for who the Sultan was, the destination of the watch, but also with the personalization of the Gabus writing, the Gabus signature on the dial. Also those, unfortunately, we don't have in this cell, but we sold many of them, and also those are incredibly rare, you know. And also for many other, we have several. This is actually a private collection that we got. We have several like simple, they just date made for Arab companies, like oil company. Then there is an aviation company, and they are all personalized with a particular emblem. You know, we got them from a collector that bought in the last 30 years. Every time that he was finding something from the Middle East, they just in steel, which can look simple, but actually today they're extremely, you know, chic and trendy. You know, they're something very particular and different. I think they're going to be very good in the sale.
Incredible. So we talked a lot about Rolex. Let's talk about the incredible Heiniger family. Andre and Patrick Heiniger, and a watch that you have with an incredible provenance and is a pièce unique commemorating the 10th millionth movement that they created. Tell us about this incredible platinum Yacht-Master.
Yes, well, this is really, of course, here is the watch, and we are absolutely very thrilled and proud to be able to offer it. I think this watch is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own something unique that Rolex made. And in fact, they basically never produced unique watches for any kind of customer. I don't know if even the Sultan of Oman has a unique Rolex that he keeps for himself. I don't know, nobody knows. But for sure, the president of Rolex, this incredible legacy that there was between the father and the son, that they were ruling Rolex for over 60 years, you know, it's something that will never happen again in the future. It's something absolutely impossible to replicate. And this special watch was made in 1992 as a prototype in platinum, and basically, for my studies and for what I have seen in the last 35 years, it's the only professional automatic in platinum ever produced, because Rolex never made GMTs in platinum, never made Submariner, never made any kind of Explorer or Milgauss. So basically, this is the only, one and only professional in platinum automatic ever produced, because rather than that, there is the Daytona, which is a chronograph in platinum made in the 2000. But this one with these features, it is something really absolutely stunning. You know, it has a special shade of gray dial, absolutely unique, 30 with diamonds and sapphires, and with the 10 million chronometer on the dial rod. Now you have to think something. Rolex has based the last 75 years of his marketing on the fact that in the early 50s, they got the seal of officially certified chronometer. This was something that in every advertisement, every decades, they were always, you know, certifying this to people. They were always promoting this to the people, how they were important to have this officially chronometer certified, which is something absolutely, of course, very important, especially in the 50s when they got it the first time. So the fact that when they arrived to make the 10 million chronometer, this guy had the idea and the skill to engrave the rotor in gold with the 10 million, you know, number on it, and put it in a unique platinum watch that is everything in the watch is absolutely spectacular and particular. And then he kept the watch for himself and for his family. This is something impossible to replicate. There will be never another president of any company, only maybe Thierry Stern can make a watch for himself because he owns the company, it's his company. But otherwise, there will never be another time the opportunity to own a unique prototype Rolex Yacht-Master made in platinum with the 10 million chronometer in it. For me, it's something spectacular. And every time I look at the watch, I see every time something incredible, like the platinum bracelet You know, the platinum bracelet with the flip lock made in the style of the Submariner. Also, it's another incredible thing because, of course, thinking about it, I had to recall that they made platinum bracelet only for Datejust and day dates, but there were never another watch that were bearing a platinum bracelet, especially with the flip lock. I think this watch it will remain any price that it will sell. You know, I don't know if we are really the top level auction house to sell it. I have to admit that this watch in another auction house with a different kind of road show around the world and another kind of presentation, I think this watch could bring a complete insane amount of money. I think we have it for a very fair price. We are proud to offer it. And I think whoever will be the winner, he will have forever a unique piece of Rolex manufacture made in platinum. I'm absolutely in love with this watch. You know, it has nothing to do. You know, Patrick Heiniger was famous also for doing those Daytona. You know, the 16506 with the leather band that were sold by Rolex, by Sotheby's in the last years. I had the luck for a couple of friends to buy two of them. I bought the mother of pearl and the lapis lazuli, and then they sold the turquoise. And these were also incredible watches. But if you think about the rarity of those watches is especially on the lapis lazuli dial, the turquoise dial, because either than that, the platinum Daytona later on were made in series. You know, Yacht-Master was never made in platinum. It was presented in 1992 in yellow gold, and the date that it was presented, Patrick Heiniger had this platinum watch on his wrist. This is something that for me is absolutely amazing. You know, I'm in love with this watch. For sure, you feel it from my words because I'm absolutely in love. If I wasn't an auctioneer, I would like to be the buyer. You know, but I'm on the other side of the field at this time. And so I need to find the right caretaker, the next caretaker, because this is something is going to be one of the most important assets in Rolex ever. This is sure.
Amazing. Davide, tell me about the auction estimate on this watch.
We actually have it for a very fair value. We estimated 1 million to 2 million, and it's well known that we guaranteed the low reserve to the seller. So, you know, otherwise he wouldn't have trusted to consign to us the watch. Actually, it was a little bit particular because we didn't realize so much what could have been the real value of the watch until we had it in our hands. So we were also skeptical, you know, to guarantee 1 million. You know, it's something quite important for an auction house. It means that you really have to find the customers, you know, otherwise the watch remains in stock and you have to pay it. But then when we had the watch and we spent time with it and we felt in love with the watch, we really understood that basically the value of the watch is different. You know, the watch has another value in today's market. Is for me, I like to define it. For me, is one of the coolest billionaire toy ever, you know, because there's going to be ever again the chance to wear a unique prototype in platinum made for a president of Rolex by the president of Rolex who was president at the moment. You know, I think the watch is astonishing. And especially this year, when I had the luck and the chance to be at Watches and Wonders and see that especially now they are presenting a fantastic titanium Yacht-Master, which for sure is going to be the next trend of 2023 and 24, you know, the fact that we have the only one in platinum is something that makes me very excited and very proud, like probably you can definitely see.
Well, I mean, it's an incredible watch. And I think, you know, you mentioned other auction houses, but you're clearly the perfect auction house to be selling this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
So Davide, let's talk about one of my favorite references, which is the Paddock World Time 2523. I love this watch also because, again, it's the Louis Cotier and Paddock Philippe at the height of their creative powers. It's the first time they did the World Timer with the internal bezel as well for the City Disc. And I thought that this is such a beautiful in series. So like, I thought this is such a cool watch, and you have an incredible example that actually has box and papers. That's nuts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not. Well, everybody knows that when I talk about modern watches, or if I want to talk about independent, I'm not the best guy. I'm not the most acknowledged guy, you know. But if we talk about wartime and 2523 reference, then I say my word, you know, I know what I'm talking about. This is an exceptional watch, 2523/1. You know, it's a watch sold by Patek Philippe Geneva in 1968. These are the last series of 2523 that were made at the beginning of the 50s with a thicker case and bigger lugs. And those watches were also dedicated to bear the enamel polychrome dial, which is the rarest edition, the rarest version of the 2523. Then in the 60s, I think the 2523, for the matter of thickness really and wearability, Patek Philippe designed this one that is a little more elegant, if we want to really say it. It's a little thinner, but it's very more elegant. And the 60s, in the mid of the 60s and in the 60s, the world of watches were not so much colored any longer. So polychrome dial, they were not so popular. It's something more after the Second World War. In the beginning of the 50s, they were selling good, but then in the 60s, they went to more simple and quiet dial, I would say. The most rare are the little guilloche or the textured dial, but this one has a fantastic silver dial, simple, of which they made a few, you know. And as I was telling you earlier, of the 30 wartime double crown that appeared in the market, I had the luck to sell 25 of them.
Wow.
And some of them, I sold them 2-3 times already. So in 35 years, I dedicated myself to the Patek Philippe Complicated, and the wartime to crown was one of my favorites. I have to tell you also that I had the luck that one of my best friends and mentor in this business and one of the biggest collector in the world actually is one of the biggest collector of this model. So that's why I was searching all those watches all over the world, and I bought all the watches available all over the globe because we wanted to put them at a certain point of his life all together. And this is something we did in the past. This watch has a fantastic history because it came out in an auction of Zurich called Kohler Auction House, which is there today. And actually it was 2013. And at that time, the watch, I went there immediately to look at it, and it was coming from the original owner family, as stated by them in the catalog. And actually, you know, I had immediately the feeling that I had to possess this watch, and I had to put it in one of my friends' collection. That's what I did. You know, it was 2013. I bought the watch over there for over 750,000 Swiss francs, something like that. And the watch was sitting in this collection for the last 10 years. So basically, this watch has 2 owners since new, and one kept it for a decade, but the other one kept it for almost 50 years, you know. So the fact is that it's another time, once in a life opportunity to own one of the best and one of the really best preserved wartime to crown with original box and original papers of sale is not something that will happen again very soon in the future, because those watches are absolutely running out of the market. They are under the eye of the biggest collector of today, which are, you know, incredible collections around the globe, in Asia, in America. And this is for us a very good chance to put it for the 3rd time of its life in a collection where I hope it will sit for the next 20 years, you know, or so, because it's really something incredible nice to wear and incredible nice to own. We made a very nice video that is online, you know, in Monaco Legend site, and it's going online also before the sale, where the watch gives all the ease aspect of preservation and the conditions. The watch is spectacular. We also had the chance to make also for this the passport of expertise of Eric Totella, who put the watch in pieces like the way he does. You know, his son Gabriel is incredibly skilled about it. And we have seen all the parts one by one, and the fact that the watch has been almost never used. You know, it's a watch that most of his life has been sitting in safe deposit boxes, but it is still with its original leather band, original buckle, original papers of sale. It was bought in Patek Philippe Geneva, so has never traveled to retailers in America or in Asia. Was bought over there in Rue du Rhône, and today is in Monaco Legend, ready for the next caretaker.
Amazing. Well, Davide, I can't think of a better person to sell this incredible 2523.
Thank you very much. For this, actually, I feel like I could be.
You have a true unicorn with this incredible pièce unique platinum Yacht-Master. I know this watch will be incredibly exciting. Thank you for your time, Davide. Thank you, Andrea. And we look forward to the auction 22nd and 23rd of April. So very soon.
Thank you very much.
And
it was a pleasure. One time I want to see you in my auction, please.
I will come to the next one. I promise.
Okay, you promise. Ciao. Ciao. Thank you very much. Ciao. Ciao.